It's a big deal for everyone to understand. There's a lot of people that are operating without God, but there was something always missing, and it was God. Without God, like, you're not going to be fulfilled. When people don't connect the dots when it comes to their money and their actual drive and reason why they're here, they're empty. If you are not living in your gift and your talent that God gave you, that's why you don't feel like you're good enough or you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. I had a lot of money and everything was working and the money was going to keep coming and everyone was happy and I had all this shit that I could ever dream of. And I felt like there was a hole as big as a semi could drive through my chest because I wasn't connected. When you are aligned with your true financial purpose, the money comes in truckloads. Because you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. You got to be patient sometimes. It comes tenfold. It comes 100-fold because it's the right thing you're supposed to be doing.
Daniel, my brother, welcome to the Superhuman Life.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm excited to be a part of this.
Yeah, brother, I'm really excited too, man. I think, based upon the conversation we had prior to recording and just what I know about you and the research I've been able to do, I think we're gonna have a really great conversation and hopefully inspire and get a lot of men to move and take action. And I think where I wanted to start, Daniel, you hear a lot of people say they hear from God or, they've gotten a call from God or they heard God speak to them. And I know that we all hear God's voice in a little bit different ways. Some people, it's through a written word, right? They're in the Bible, they're reading scripture every single day. Other people, and this has been my experience, hear God's voice through other people, like as they're navigating out in the world. Curious with you, Daniel, is God's voice an actual audible voice that you hear? And if so, do you remember the first time you heard that voice?
Yeah, absolutely. So it is an audible voice. It was a voice that I had to really channel myself. It would come in from time to time. I remember a couple of, for instances, where it did. And as I've walked with God, and as you'll hear when we talk today, I made this commitment to walk with God every single day. And since I've done that, I've been able to channel this voice and actually be able to ask questions and get answers every single time with this audible voice. So it's pretty exciting to talk about. So I'm ready to dig in with you, man.
Yeah, brother, that's amazing, man. Was it something, that you can remember growing up? We brought up in the church, was this something that's been with you your entire life? Or was there defining moments in your story, in your journey, when it's like this voice, that's God, and I need to kind of lean into that?
Yeah. So I grew up across the street from a Catholic church. We went to church once every 2 years. We were not churchgoers. I always knew of God. I believed in God. But it wasn't something that was like a practice in our family. I didn't really hear the voice of God until later on in my life. I remember a couple of, for instances, where I would hear that voice, like that audible voice. I remember the first time that I remember hearing it distinctively when I wasn't looking for it was I was about to get in my truck and I was about to file this complaint at the police station for this stupid stuff. Like, I'm not like a police station dude, you know what I mean? Usually I like to handle things on my own, but there was like this day where I was like, I'm going and I'm filing a police report. And I remember it like it was yesterday. Son, you're wasting your time. Don't go there. And I didn't listen. I'm like, I knew that voice, I heard it, but I didn't listen. So I went to the police station. I waited an hour and a half and I wasted my time. And it was like, man, if I would have just listened, I would have saved like an hour and a half. And that was like the very first moment I remember hearing a voice that wasn't mine, and later that day, I realized it was God. He was just trying to help me. And that was the first time that I remember hearing it. And then it's been every day since I've developed this muscle.
When did that journey start for you? Of because it sounds like the first time you're like you didn't listen. You shared that pretty clearly with us, right? When, I guess, for you, did it become clear and apparent that was God's voice? And when did you begin to, I think, the language you're using is kind of exercising this muscle?
So it's been years. It's probably been, maybe 10 or 11 years that it's been there and apparent. I've just been asking questions, or I've been in a prayer and a meditation or something like that. And it just started way back then. And it's been there ever since.
Yeah. Was there anything defining going on in your life here that's like, this is, I'm listening for something here? Or can you kind of walk us through your experience? Like, okay, I'm hearing this voice. Now I'm leaning in. Now I'm going to exercise this muscle. What was that like? Were you searching? Were you looking for answers in a specific area of your life? And then kind of, 10, 11 years, kind of, maybe bring us up to date with where we are.
The first moment was when I needed to stop drinking. It was July 7th, 2010. I had a huge alcohol addiction, complete full-blown alcoholism. I could not stop drinking, no matter what I tried. And I remember that was like the determining like season for me, because I got very close to God then. I was praying, I was meditating every single day and in the morning and at night. And I was just asking God to help me. Like I was asking God to first, it was like, I need to stop drinking. You need to like I know I need to ask you, and I'm asking you, like, help me. And he helped me. And ever since I literally like asked God to help me with my drinking problem, I haven't wanted to drink since. Like I said, it was July 7th, 2010. I haven't walked into a bar and wanted to drink. I mean, I've been in situations like that many a time since then, but there's never been an urge, simply because of that one decision that I was going to ask God to help me with that part of my life.
Yeah, it's incredible, man. And thank you for sharing that. I know I mentioned with you before we hit record the work that we do. So, I think his addiction is and alcoholism is something that, touches almost everybody, either personally, direct family, and if it's not directly within your family, like you only need to go maybe one layer deeper to find somebody. So I appreciate that. Can you talk about, maybe the earlier years with the alcohol? Like how did that make its way into your life? Was it something that you just always struggled with? And then what happened July 7th where you called out to God and you said, okay, I need some help here. So walk us through, if you're okay with talking a little bit about this, like your struggles.
Yeah, of course. So I've always been a businessman. I was 13 years old and I had my first lawn service. Like I had my own business in Ohio. I was cutting grass. I made a bunch of money. Bought my first car cash. Like I've had like this spirit inside of me. And I was a baseball player. So played baseball in high school and in college, and I was successful in baseball. And then the second that I got out, and during those years, I was drinking. Like the only thing that helped, that like stopped me from like drinking all day, even as a teenager or a younger kid, a student in high school, was that I had baseball practice, or that I had a baseball game. Like that was the only thing that stopped me from, you know, not being loaded the entire time. And looking back at it now, like I understand that I was just trying to like numb myself. Like I did not want to feel. And I don't even really know what was wrong with me back then, but I just know there was something wrong. There was something like missing. And I had no connection with God back then when I was playing sports. Like I didn't even think about it. And when I got into business, I started like trying to have God help me with my business. The problem was though that I wasn't drawing a sober breath, like at all. Like my whole business career. I still was able to make a lot of money in the mortgage business. I remember 2005, 6, 7. I was making millions of dollars. And I was a younger guy making that much money. Like people looked at me a little differently than most people that were that age. And I had a lot of success. And then 2008 is when the real estate market changed. I was in the real estate industry at the time. And if you remember 2008, like it flipped completely upside down. And I was in Las Vegas. So I owned a mortgage company. And this story is just like pretty much every story that was involved during that time. Making a bunch of money and then boom, the faucet got turned off. And I was drinking up to that point. Like when I was making all the money, I was drinking to party. And then when I wasn't making all the money, I was drinking to be numb.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I want to keep down this story because I know where it leads us to. But I'm curious if for you, if in those early years, was there a justification, right? Like here I have all this worldly success, right? I'm making all this money. I'm achieving all these things. I'm this young guy. Look at me. I got all this. Like, of course I'm going to drink. I'm going to party. And like, was there maybe there's some negotiating or trying to convince of yourself, like it's not a problem because look at all the success that I'm having out here in the world?
Yeah, for some of it, yes. But then towards the end, I knew there was a problem.
Okay.
Because I couldn't stop. Like I had a family with kids, sleeping upstairs as I'm in my huge garage with all of my motorcycles and race cars and toys. Like drinking myself to death by myself. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning. My family's upstairs and I'm in the garage, you know, having a business to run the next day. And it just didn't matter. Like I just had to keep drinking and drinking and drinking to a point to where I would literally, like, I don't even remember crawling into bed every night. Like that's how bad it was. So there was no justification towards the end. It was full out brawl. It was like I've got to drink. I remember it was an 18 pack of beer and it was a half a bottle of Bacardi, like every single night, and a bag of weed. Like that's like literally like my cocktail. It was, and that's like what I did over and over and over again, tuning and building and playing with the stuff that I had. Sometimes even taking one of the motorcycles out in the middle of the night. Like it was horrible. And man, it the second that like the real estate market changed and the money stopped, like the alcohol addiction didn't stop. So if you can imagine, like it was very uncomfortable at that point. Like everything happened. Like she left, she took the kids, the house went into foreclosure. I had bankruptcy. My business exploded. Like there was like imploded, not exploded, imploded, like fell on itself. I had all my investments that were gone. Like it was bad. I ended up living at my dad's house. And that's like where my story really begins. Was at my dad's house drinking, living on his couch for 2 years. And that's when I got my shit together. That's when I was like, okay, this is bullshit. Like I got to do something with my life. And that's when I asked God to help me with the drinking situation. And that's when I became the man, or started to become the man that I am today. And it's exciting to be able to look back at that and be like, damn, I'm glad I went through that, but I'm never going back. Never.
Yeah, no, Dan, I appreciate all of that, man. I mean, there's a bit there that we could dive into and kind of chew on here a little bit. I know that this is the exciting part though of the story, so definitely want to make sure we kind of get back to this point at your dad's. A couple things, that really kind of jumped out at me. I know I told you this before, man. I knew prior to today's conversation in researching you, I'm like, there's just an energy. There's something about this guy. Like to hear you talk about the landscaping business, I was the same thing, man. I was 11, 12 years old, pushing a lawnmower around on Saturday and Sunday, knocking on people's doors, saying, "Hey, your grass is a little bit long. I'll do the grass for 20. I'll do the weeds and everything for 30." And I've heard some of the things that you were able to purchase. Like I was able to, buy myself shoes and jerseys and go to festivals and stuff. Like so, for me, it taught me a very early lesson in entrepreneurship. Also, big time ball player is as well. Where for you did the fire and passion for entrepreneurship come? Was that something that you saw your parents doing? Were there people around you growing up that you looked at, or was that just something that was innately in you, do you think?
It's never enough. That's like something that I have inside of me. I overdo everything. I maximize everything. Like it's never enough. And that has been the spirit that has been instilled in me. This is a gift that God gave me at birth. It's never enough. Like I go out of my way to make sure that something is modified, made better, or I completely get everything. I squeeze everything out of everything. Like I remember, so I buy this McLaren a 720S. If you know what a McLaren 720S is, it's one of the bigger, stronger McLaren models, and it's a convertible, and it's got 720 horsepower, which is cool and everything, but that's not enough for me. I literally spend all this money and make it 1,000 horsepower, and then I crash it. I mean, it's almost back. But anyway, my point is like we I I always maximize everything. Like in my business, like I was making plenty of money in the mortgage business, but then I was like, okay, how can I like make this happen in like double or triple and me like do less work? Like that was like my mindset back then in the mortgage business, and it worked because I figured out like how to do it, like how to maximize that business, and it was exciting. I really did not have back then like this strong connection with God, and I want to go back to that for a second. Like it's a big deal for everyone to understand. Like there's a lot of people that are operating without God, and some people are successful without God. They really are. But there was something always missing, regardless of how much success or how fast I made that car, that motorcycle. There was always something missing, and it was God. And as we keep talking, like I'll kind of shed some more light on that. Like it's important for everyone to understand that without God, like you're not going to be fulfilled. You're not.
Yeah. So what is the danger then? I guess with people, I'm sure you see this in the business space, right? You'll talk to a lot of believers, a lot of men, men of God, men of faith. They're like they invite God into the relationship, right? Like, God, help me with my marriage, help me become an incredible father. God, help me maybe with my body, right? Like help me shed these last 30 pounds of fat. But then when it comes to the business, it's like, I'm not going to open up this door with you, God. It's like I need to go kind of do this on my own. Is this something that you've seen kind of in the business world? There's like a lot of people that have God invited in all the areas of their life, but then they keep the business kind of in a separate compartment.
Yeah. And that's the biggest mistake that men can make. The absolute biggest. And that is literally what we're going to talk about today is financial purpose. Like, why are you here? Why did God make you? Like, what is your financial purpose? When people don't connect the dots when it comes to their money and their actual drive and reason why they're here financially, they're empty. Like I was literally, okay, so I go from being on my dad's couch, having all of these problems, right? To asking God to help me stop drinking, to getting my shit together, to getting my life together, getting back in the mortgage business and building it back up to where it was bigger than it ever was. Like Frank, I remember it was the 7th day of the month. I'm in my office. It's 5:30 in the morning. No one's in the office. I'm looking at my bank accounts. And yesterday, the 6th, there was $131,000 deposited into my account. I'm like, okay, this is great. Like, what is this from? I'm like tracking the money, right? I look, it's 6 days worth of commissions. I'm like, well, wow, this month's going to be killer because I already got 131,000 coming in 6 days. And I look at my pipeline, there's $500,000 coming in just in the mortgage business. I had a coaching business too. I'm like, this is going to be a great month. And then I felt myself like pitching myself on like trying to feel good. Like I knew I didn't feel good. I was sober for many years. I was healthy. My body is full of muscle and energy. Like I'm ready to go to war with any man. You know what I mean? Like everything's good, right? My family is happy. No one's upset with me. I don't owe anybody any money. I got a garage full of toys again. I've got vacation. I've got everything. I've got a team that does most of my work that I don't want to do inside this business. Like everything is great. And I'm like, this is when the commitment started. Was I literally, I remember this like it was yesterday. It gives me chills to think about this. I have all of this stuff and I'm like empty. And I'm like, God, what is going on? I'm praying. I'm literally laying back in my chair in my desk. And I'm like, God, why do I feel this way? This is not right. This is not right. And God told me, he said, you got to walk with me. You got to commit to walking with me every day. And I didn't know what that meant. But I answered. I said, okay, I'm going to, and this was that audible voice that was clear as day. I'm like, all right, I'm going to walk with you every single day. And that decision was what changed my life forever because I started walking with God and he started aligning me with my financial purpose. And that's the most exciting thing a man could ever have is his financial purpose. I'm telling you right now, when we're men and we want to drive and we want to make money and we want to build shit and we want to lead our families and we want to do all this stuff, we need that money component. But the thing is, it's not just the money component, it's the purpose behind the money. If you're aligned with like what your true calling is, your life will never be the same. You will be fucking full, not empty. And that's how I live today. Is inside my financial purpose. I do what I'm supposed to do. I'm in my gifts and my talents, and I'm here doing exactly what God created me to do, and I have become who I was supposed to become in God's eyes. That's the most fulfilling moment I've ever had in my life is when I realized that. I live it every day.
Yeah, I want to go a little bit deeper here on the financial purpose, if you can, Daniel. I'd love to maybe hear, if you're open to sharing it, yours. So what is Daniel's financial purpose in the world? And then for a man out there that is hearing this, right? He's like, okay, financial purpose. Like I got to make a lot of money. That means I got to be able to protect and provide, for others. Like I got to make sure, I keep the house in order. I'm covering the bills. Like, is that what we're speaking to in terms of financial purpose? And if it's not, I'm sorry, I'm throwing a lot of questions at here. So hopefully, kind of get all this organized in one. in terms of a hierarchy of purposes, right? Because we're talking about a financial purpose, like, but men have purpose as a father, men have purpose as a husband, maybe they have purpose to their company, to their businesses, to the service that they're doing. Where in your eyes does the financial purpose fall in that hierarchy? And then maybe answer the second series of questions in terms of like, what is the financial purpose in Daniel's life? And then how can a guy begin to find it in his?
Well, first thing is the financial purpose is the true purpose that like a man needs to connect to. That's like the first thing I want to start with. Like the reason why, if you're a man listening to this, that you're feeling like there's something that you're not utilizing, there's something left in your tank that you're not using. There's something missing, like you're showing up to a job or a business that you hate, but you're just doing it because you feel like you have to pay the bills because society told you that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to get a great job and make some great money and be comfortable. Like all of that is one of the reasons why you feel empty, because you're not aligned to your financial purpose. So like when a man aligns himself to his financial purpose, what is happening is he is aligning himself with his gift and his talent that God gave him to utilize for the world. Like every single man is given a gift and a talent at birth. Every single man. It doesn't matter who you are, every single time. And they're always a little different than the next person. They just are. And the reason why we're given these gifts and talents are for us to bear fruit, for us to be able to show up and actually make a difference, or show up and actually give value to the world, or value to the community, or value to the neighborhood, or value to the office, or whatever it is that you're supposed to be giving value to. That's why your gift and your talent was created from God. That's the first thing that you've got to understand as a man, is that if you are not living in your gift and your talent that God gave you, that's why you don't feel like you're good enough, or you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. Flat out. Look, I had a lot of money and everything was working and the money was going to keep coming and everyone was happy and I had all this shit that I could ever dream of. And I felt like there was a hole as big as a semi could drive through my chest with all this happening because I wasn't connected. I wasn't connected to my gift and my talent. So that's like my rendition or my answer to like financial purpose. Is that good for that part of it, Frank?
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah. Okay. I guess to follow up there, what would you say to somebody that I didn't grow up in the church, man? So I got saved in late 2018, man. So my walk with God, I feel like I'm still crawling a bit, right? You know, in terms of like understanding what it means to truly walk with God and kind of live out, you know, this life the way that He's kind of designed it for us. But I think because my introduction to God and through Christ came through a network and a brotherhood of incredibly successful men in the business world, right? So I was very fortunate to join an entrepreneurship group in late 2017 that really opened up my eyes to my potential, to the business world, and then ultimately led me to finding my faith. And the rest has kind of been history with everything we're doing here today. You know, so I don't hear it there with like the introduction, but then when I kind of started to kind of explore my faith and getting into other groups and other circles, like you hear a lot of conversation around like, it's not proper for, you know, call them believers or men of God to pursue financial wealth, right? It's like, you know, the money is the root of all evil is something that people will say, right? It's like, we know that's not actually what, you know, the scripture's telling us. So what do you say to somebody that it's like, trust in God, it's not your job to go pursue financial, because when you're walking with God, He's going to provide everything that you need?
Well, I don't completely agree with that last part of the comment. So God provides you with what you need to take action on. That's the difference here. That this is my view, is that like God has given me every single step that I've needed to take. But if I don't take the steps, the money doesn't come. The impact doesn't happen. Like He'll give me every single ability that I need to be able to push whatever it is that my financial purpose is that He has for me. But if I'm in the self-will part of deciding, oh, you know, I'm not going to do the work, then the results will not show up. They won't. But if I do the work, the results will show up every single time. And the results will show up faster when I'm actually doing and taking the right steps. When I'm being directed by God, taking the correct steps, which we're going to talk about here in a moment. Like when you take the right steps, your life will abundantly change. because you're not taking the wrong steps. You're not running in circles. You're running straight. Think about how fast you can run the race when you run fucking straight versus running in circles around the track and you're trying to run a 100-meter dash. Like, you're going to get your ass whooped if you're going to try to run around the track when you only need to run 100 meters. Like, what the hell's wrong with you? Like, there's so many men. They're like, I'm going to figure it out on my own. Go ahead. Keep trying that.
It's not even that they're going to try to figure it out on their own. It's that they're leaving it all up to God. Like, I love the analogy there. It's like God shows you the steps, but you still have to put one foot in front of the other. I think where my question was focused around is the people that say, no, I don't need to take any of these steps because God's going to kind of take care of it for me. And it wasn't an answer. It wasn't a question I was asking for you to agree with me. I would lean more towards your perspective on a lot of these things. That's why I kind of opened it up, because I wanted to kind of have that back and forth. But I don't know. I mean, you see a lot of people, right? It's like God's going to take care of it. God's going to show you the way, but he still expects you to show up every single day and take action. And I think that's where you and I are in a lot of agreement here. So
part of your big loaded question, Frank, was what was my financial purpose? Would you like me to answer that? Because I'm
absolutely,
really clear
yeah.
on what
And I think and I think that'll kind of set us up for maybe the second half where we can get really kind of tactical with guys.
Yes, I love that word, tactical. Strategic is my favorite word, and tactical is like one of them too. It really is. So, I'm sure you have a lot of guns. You don't have to answer that if you don't want to, but I do. I love it.
Dude, we live in Florida, brother. Come on.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. My wife's like, why are you bringing the 10 mil? I'm like, well, you never know if something's going to happen, you know? She's like, you could bring the other one. I'm like, no, let's bring this one. Anyway, I feel great when I have the gun with me. I don't want to shoot anybody, but if I have to, I will. Anyway, that's kind of my motto. All right. So when we go back to this financial purpose situation, it took me a while to figure this out. Like, it wasn't, I didn't decide to walk with God one morning and I asked him the question and he just gave it to me all. Like that's not how this works. He'll give you the peace that you're able to comprehend and understand and take action on. Like, every single time. That's how it works. And I've seen this over and over and over again. So, like, it's not just from my story, but it's from the other men that are around me that walk with God. Like, I know what happens when you start doing this. You get little pieces. So I started walking with God, and I'm like, God, I started walking. I started getting up super early. The sun isn't even up yet. And I'm walking at this park in Las Vegas. It's when I lived in Las Vegas.
Now, when you say walking with God, like, you're literally, you're outside walking. You're walking. Yep. And then you're inviting God into that walk with you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It's what I call a flow state. You got to get into a flow state. You're not like, this is not a sit and talk. This is a walk and talk with God. Straight up. You are walking with God. So,
okay. And why do you feel walking? Why do you feel walking is more, inject whatever word you want here, more powerful, more beneficial, an easier way to hear God's voice? Why walking versus, sitting in a dedicated area within your house, the prayer chair? Like, why do you feel walking is better?
If you're in a prayer chair, that's great. And if that's something you do, you should keep doing that. But you should also try walking. And the reason why I suggest that is you release all resistance when you're walking physically. It's a physical release. When you're walking, there's nothing that's like holding you down. There's no constraints. You are literally in flow. You're walking in nature. You're walking in the woods. You're walking by the beach. Like, we're both in Florida. Like, you're walking by the fucking ocean, man, or wherever, or by a lake. Like, there's lakes everywhere. Like I told you, I'm in Panama City right now. This is the most beautiful place I've probably ever seen in my life. And it's like a gym. Like, no one knows about it. Like, I shouldn't have even said that because now people are going to fucking come here.
Well, bro, I live in Land O Lakes, Florida. Like, this is literally like, it is one of the hubs of, just lakes all over the place. So no, I love it, man. So walking,
but you're there.
Resistance.
No resistance whatsoever. Right. So you're in this spot. That's what I started doing. And then I got strategic with my walks and I started asking God, like, what am I, like, I know that it's not a money problem. Like, I have no problem making money. Been able to make money since I've been 13. Like, no problem with that. But the problem is there's like a purpose problem. So I put it together. I'm like, okay, what is my financial purpose? How am I supposed to make this money but create the impact on the world that I'm supposed to create for you? Like, I knew these words just kind of came out of my soul. Like, I started asking these questions because I knew, like, that was what was missing. Like, what am I not doing right? What am I not connected to? What am I supposed to really do for you? Why did you make me? Like, God, why am I here? I started asking these questions over and over and over again every single morning. He would give me little pieces. He'd give me little answers. to a point to where I really figured out exactly what it was. As he unpacked it for me, he told me. He said, my financial purpose is to connect as many alpha men to God as possible. And I'm like, okay, how does that look? And he's like, you're going to teach them how to strategically walk with me and be able to actually align each one of these men with their financial purpose through me and with me. And he goes, once these men are aligned with their financial purpose, they will have every answer they've ever been looking for and every single action step that they need to take. When these men have every single step they need to take, when they take them, they will have a life that is fulfilled with joy and happiness and money and everything that they've ever dreamed of. But most importantly, they will be whole. They will be fulfilled like you are starting to feel right now. And I'm like listening to God, like he's literally telling me this. And I'm like shocked and excited at the same time. Like, okay, this makes complete sense because I know now, like, this is what I'm going to do for men. Like, I'm going to connect men with you so they can actually live the life that you designed for them. Like, how great is that? You know, I work directly for God. That's literally what my financial purpose is.
I love that. Love that. What year was this when you began to start to walk and hear from God in this way?
So early last year was when this really started coming to fruition.
Okay. So
I've been walking with God for a long time, but early last year is when everything started happening. The business was formed, and
got it. Okay.
I didn't start these walks, Frank, like trying to build something. I was like, God, I need answers.
Well, that's what I want.
I didn't think anything was going to happen.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of curious about. So just kind of going back to the timeline here, right? 2008, we're crushing it. Mortgage, real estate, everything kind of blows up in our face. We're living off the bottle. I believe there was a point where family was kind of broken up. You ended up on your dad's couch. You're still just drinking. 2 years later, July 7th, 2010, you're going to have this awakening. You hear from God. He's going to help you with the alcohol recovery. Then you kind of shared some bits of the story where you got back into the mortgage and you were doing better than before. So now we're crushing it. We're making more money. We've kicked the problem though with the alcohol. So we're no longer having that as an escape. So I'm assuming at this point, life is probably feeling a lot better than it did before. Yet there's still an emptiness inside of you is what I heard you say, right? It's like, I have all this abundance here in the world, but there's still this hole inside of my heart that is not being filled. So you start walking with God and then you start hearing these things that he's telling you. How are you processing and receiving that? Like, God, you want me to go do what? I'm crushing it over here. Like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, crushing in the world. So how are you processing hearing a direction that you need to go differently? And like, are you still running the mortgage businesses? I guess would be a great question to ask, or do you have to leave all that aside? And what was that like walking away from millions of dollars after having lost it and built it back up?
Yeah. So I am not in the mortgage business. I'm not in the coaching business per se with the realtors and the lead gen and the sales business that I had there at all. That was all, turned off last year when I started walking with God because he told me to. It wasn't hard for me. Like, a lot of people are like, oh man, like I'm scared to walk with God. Like, he's going to tell me to stop my business and build a new one or do this or do that. He might. But I'm going to tell you something. When you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, it's easy. And a lot of it was easy. Like, here's the thing. I was making all this money, but I was feeling empty inside because I wasn't fulfilled. I just wanted to be fulfilled. So when I'm walking with God and I know it's his voice and he's like, you're going to get out of the lease in the building that you have. You're done in the mortgage business. All your employees are going to be taken care of. These are the steps strategically you're going to take to make sure they're all taken care of, to make sure you're off the lease so you don't get sued. You're this, you're that. Like, he told me everything to do. He laid it all out on the table for me to just take the steps. And I took one step after another step after another step, not even knowing like what I was going to do with my financial purpose. Like, I didn't understand like how I was going to replace the income that I was turning off. Like, I was literally turning it off.
Yeah, I'm curious here, Daniel. Like, had you gotten to the point where, you had to accept a potential future with a different lifestyle, for decades, decade plus, like you've lived an abundance life. Like, you've been able to buy McLarens and race cars and all these things, and you've gotten situated with a particular way of living. Yet you hear God's voice, I'm moving you in this other direction. Was there an internal struggle? Like, God, am I going to be as financially successful? And what happens if I'm not? Like, how are you processing, like, if I'm potentially living a completely different lifestyle? I know you talked about the fulfillment, but what was going on inside of you, if there's anything you're able to articulate?
I've always been able to make money. I've always been able to provide for myself financially and for my
Got it.
family.
So there's no
So
fear.
there,
You know that I'm going to go out and
no.
this is going to be as successful as everything I've ever put my hands on before.
And I knew that it was going to be massively more successful than anything I've ever done because it was what I was supposed to do. Like that was the thing that like a lot of people don't connect this fully. Like you connect it and you hear it, but you don't connect it fully. Is that when you are aligned with your true financial purpose, the money comes in truckloads, like it does, because you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Like when you're aligned with God and you're doing what God has for you, the money is inevitable. Like it's coming. It's coming. You got to be patient sometimes because you're building new shit and you're in a different industry and all this other stuff, but it comes tenfold. It comes 100-fold because of it's the right thing you're supposed to be doing. It's not something that you're just forcing. Like I don't feel like I'm forcing the business now at all. Like matter of fact, I'm going to give your audience a gift that's going to change their life for free. Like, and it's going to connect them to God directly. Like if it's okay, if I can do this with your audience, like I want to give them a huge gift. Can I give them the gift?
Absolutely. You want to do that now, or you want to hold it till the end, a little cliffhanger?
We can do a little cliffhanger if you like. I like Sylvester. You know, we can hold it. But like that's how passionate I am about all of this. Like I'm here to like connect men. I'm here to change men's life, just like what you do. Like that's why I was excited to be a part of what you're doing. Like these men that are listening to this podcast, they've got things that they need your help with. And there's a lot of things that they need help with more than what you're doing. You know what I mean? More than what you're focused on. And
Absolutely.
when we connect them with God, it helps both of us with these men. It makes it a lot easier for these men to actually get to where they want to go. It really does. That's why I'm so excited about this. Like it's yes, I'm a coach, and yes, I help men, and I help them connect themselves with their financial purpose and everything, but I do it through God. I don't do it through like, this cool way that I like developed. Like, no, this is the way that God showed me to connect men, this way, which is so exciting to do this,
Yeah, no, I'm right in line there with you, man. And I knew coming into this that there was going to be a lot that we were really going to be able to see, eye to eye and bring some synergistic here. So curious, because you had said that your financial purpose is always tied to gifts and talents that we're all kind of born with. So as we're not kind of connecting it to your financial purpose, raising up alpha men so they can walk with God, so they can go out there and find their own financial purpose. What call it unique gifts and traits within yourself do you feel that you were born with that make you able to step into this?
Well, first off, like I have the balls and the guts to actually take action once God actually tells me what to do. Like you saw it. And I don't spend a lot of time talking about it, but since you asked about it, we'll talk about it. It does take balls to make the moves that I've made. It does. It's hard sometimes to listen to God and actually take the instructions that he gives you. Sometimes it's one of the hardest things a man can do. I do not fear those action steps at all. That's one of the gifts and talents that God gave me at birth, was the ability to be able to ask and to listen and to act. Like I act like a motherfucker. Like seriously, Frank, when I here's the thing you got to realize. I walk with God strategically every single day. And I ask God what my focus and direction needs to be for my financial purpose. He tells me. I ask God what my focus and direction needs to be for my body and health. He tells me. I ask God what my focus and direction needs to be for my relationships. He tells me. And then every single day I act on that advice, those instructions, that coaching, those revelations directly from God every single day. So I live an inspired life. I don't make decisions on my own. I make decisions led by God. And that right there is where my life has changed exponentially. Like I know it's going to be a good day because God is directing my steps every single day. That's what's happened. That's one of the huge gifts and talents that God gave me, was the ability to just put it out on the line and just ask and act. That's huge. Everyone that I've been around, when they see me and they see the moves that I make and how fast I operate, they're always shocked. Always shocked. They're like, "How in the world did you build that, or how did you do that fast?" I'm like, "I just listened to God. It's that simple. God told me what to do and I did it."
Yeah, so guy hearing this now, and he's like, God, I love Daniel. I love what he's talking about. Everything is speaking to me. I'm speaking as a listener right now. I want to start walking with God, but then they're gonna start to doubt themselves, right? They're like, well, Daniel's heard his voice for decades, because you said it. You've heard an audible voice of God for many, 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 many years. So to think, okay, I'm gonna go walk, ask questions, and the answers are gonna show up through a voice. For you, it seems like it'd make a whole lot of sense. For a guy that's never heard God's voice in his life, how can he begin to walk with God? And what questions is he asking? Like, how does he get himself into this flow state outside of just getting outside and walking? Like, somebody's never heard God's voice, like there's going to be a lot of doubts on how am I going to actually succeed in walking with God?
It's part of the gift, but we're going to keep the cliffhanger just like hanging. And I'm going to strategically like work through this answer with you, because I think it's really important for them to hear it this way. There has to be like an order of operation. At least there does for me. I'm very strategic and I do things in order. I do things like, I was never in the military, but I would have been really good in the military because they're all operational based, right? They do things a certain way. This is the order of operations and you do it that way. That's how I ran my businesses. This is how I run my God walks. This is how I walk with God, is I do it exactly the same way every single time. And when I do it this way, it's also duplicatable for the man that's listening going, I don't know where to start. I don't know how I'm going to hear this voice. Exactly what you were talking about was how this was created. And again, I did it just for me first. And then as it just started coming into fruition, it completely shifted the way that I looked at this to where I can teach men this. I can duplicate this. So I'm going to give you the quick rendition of it now, and then we can give them the gift, and then they can actually do this on their own if they want to connect with their financial purpose. Like, the guarantee is when I give them this gift, they will have absolutely everything they need, that they will guaranteed align themselves with their financial purpose. So here's what I started doing though in my walks. I would start with being in a flow state. I would be walking and I would start with setting an intention. I'd be like, God, humbly, I would like to work on this situation in my life today. Obviously, you're the boss, so if you help me with this, that's great. If there's something else, no problem. But this is my preference. See how I'm coming humble to God. I'm not giving God orders. If I give God orders, he's going to laugh at me and probably whoop me. Like I have nothing for God. I know this. So I would be humble and I would set an intention. That would be step one. Step two would be I would be acknowledging the blessings that God gave me. And literally what I mean by that is I would be, over the last 24 hours, God, this is what I've seen that you've done for me in my life. Thank you. And I would just start rattling them off, And then the third piece of my walk strategically would be what I call laying it on the table. And what this means is that I would be literally telling God, this is where I believe I am today in my financial purpose. This is working. This isn't working. This looks great. This is the impact. This is whatever. But I'm being honest. I'm not like telling God, hey, the business did 5 million last month and it did 1. You know what I mean? Like, why would
he's gonna know?
He's gonna know, but the thing is, he needs to know that I know. He needs to know that I'm honest. That's the whole point of this, Frank, is like, you have to have this mirror exercise, even though you don't have a mirror when you're walking, but like, this is a mirror exercise, like looking into your own soul and talking to God and being like, this is where I'm at, right? Or this is where I'm at in my body and health. Like, God, I didn't get my workout in yesterday and you told me I needed to. Like, I fucked up.
I think that's the challenge for probably the vast majority of men, right? Because, when you're living a life out of alignment with who you're supposed to be or who God created you to be, you're basically living a lie 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to yourself. And then you're projecting a particular image of yourself to the rest of the world. So this, for a lot of guys, may be the only time in their life that they are radically honest, right?
That's right. Absolutely.
And that's why it's going to be so powerful and I mean, just freeing and beneficial. Yes. Like, even if you don't hear the voice, just being honest with yourself in the moment, God's going to hear it. You may not hear it right away, but God, it's transformative just in and of itself right there.
Yes. Oh yeah. So, and I'm glad that you saw that because this is huge. I realized that when I started doing this, God's voice was faster, it was louder, and it was deeper. There
Yes.
was more coming. So, like, again, this was created by like my own trial and effort as walking like every effing day, man. Just like, okay, what else do I need to do to like get this voice to come in? And so I would be honest and lay it on the table with my financial purpose, with my body and health, and my relationships. Those three core areas of life is all you need to worry about. Because obviously you're building a connection with God automatically by working on these three core areas of life with him. So automatically you're building a better connection with your creator just by default.
Yeah.
But
Health,
when
wealth,
you
and love. Is that what you
focus,
said, the three? Health, wealth, and love?
financial purpose,
Okay.
body and health,
Okay.
relationships.
Yeah. Okay. So the big three. Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah, you can put different words around it, but those three core areas are the way that I classify them in my walks. And I'm literally like, I'm telling God, like when I get to like the relationship section, I'm like, I was an asshole to my wife last night. Or, you know, we had amazing sex. Like, thank you. It was amazing. And, you know, I got to shoot baskets with the younger boy. That was cool. You know, whatever it is, like I'm like being honest. Or, you know, my son, he had a rough night and I didn't react the way I should have. Like I need some help on that today. You know, something like, but I'm like laying it on the table because I'm like letting him know where I'm at. It's kind of one of those things. If you're not, and you even mentioned this, and I want to mention it again, if you're not honest with God, he can't help you. Like he can, but he's not going to. Like I know that's like the
say that
truth
again
bomb.
if you could. Say that again, Daniel, please, for the ones that are way far in the back. I want to make sure everybody heard.
If you're not honest with God, he can't help you. It's that simple. And he won't fucking help you. Like, let's be real. Why is he going to help you if you're an asshole and you can't even look in the own mirror into your own eyes and be honest? Like, come on. Let's be real for a second. You're dealing with men that are addicted to pornography. You know, that's what you're like. I'm sure part of what you do is getting them to get honest. I'm positive, right? Like, that's a part of what you do. That's how you help them, right?
Many times the honest thing they need to come to realization and truth with is that they are addicted to pornography, because you can look out in the world and say pornography is no such thing, or, you know, pornography addiction, or it's something that all men do. So a lot of times just that acceptance of, hey, I have a problem here with pornography and it's something I need to work towards, is that first step of honesty and truth that begins to open up that path to freedom for them, man. So this right here is, this is gold, man.
When I asked God for help with my drinking, that was me being honest. Way back on July 7th, 2010. God, I can't do this without you. I'm addicted to alcohol. I can't fucking stop. Please help me. And he did. I haven't wanted to drink since. And I say that with a humble heart. Like, God, I know I could probably screw up again if you don't help me with this. Like, please keep helping me. Help me today. Help me tomorrow. Help me for the rest of my life.
Yeah, so talk about that consistency there, right? Because, like, yeah, I want to go, you know, maybe we'll go have a good walk, you know, with God today. He'll give us something that we need. And they're like, okay, God, I got that. And then, like, we're going to skip it for the next 3 weeks. And then, you know, when something else kind of happens in our life, it's like people are constantly seeking God, like when things are already falling apart. So talk about the consistency of these walks and how that's important.
Well, there's 3 core areas of life that we're focused on every single day. So the consistency is built in with the walk. If you do the walk this way, you're always touching your money, you know, with your business, your financial purpose. You're always touching your body and health, and you're always touching your relationships. Relationships could be your employees at work, could be your boss, could be whatever you have set up at work. It could be your wife, it could be your kids, it could be your girlfriend, whatever it is. Like that's all encompassing, you know, like that's it. So if you're hitting those 3 targets and first you're being honest with those 3 targets, then you open up for the gold. And this is like the gold is when you really get into the best part of the walk. This is, in my opinion, the best part of the walk, which is asking God for coaching. Asking God for coaching in these 3 core areas of life. Some people call it revelation. Some people call it inspiration, whatever you want to call it. But this is when God will start giving you what you're asking for. So you set an intention. You've acknowledged your blessings. You've gotten honest with God. Now the 4th section of this is you actually asking God for the coaching. And this is how I do it every single day. God, what is the focus and direction I need to have to maximize my financial purpose? And then he's going to tell me. I'm in a flow state and I'm walking. And this is where the answer or the question comes. What if I can't hear God? You will hear something. You will feel something. You will see a picture. You will see an image. You will get an idea. I guarantee you, for every single man that's listening right now, you will get something if you just make the decision to be open to it. So you might not get the audible conversation, dialogue back and forth, like men, you hearing me and Frank talk right now. You might not get that with God right away. That's okay. You will get that. I guarantee you, you will get that. You just need to walk enough times. You need to walk enough times consistently to develop that muscle. If you don't have that right away, you will get a picture, you will get an intuitive thought, you will get an idea, and when you get that thought, picture, idea, or the voice from God, that's when you speak it verbally out of your mouth. Because when you speak it verbally out of your mouth, what happens is it's real. It's almost like if you heard that thing, if you write it down, man, like you're going to remember it a lot better. You've heard that, right? Like if you take notes, they have all these stats. I don't know how in the hell they come up with these stats, but if you're in training and you'll retain 47% more if you write it all down. Like, I don't know what the percentage is, but I do know that when you speak it out loud, whatever it is, God's voice, God's thought, God's idea, then it becomes real. Because then your ears hear it and you know that it was something that just happened.
Yeah.
You're gonna record it. Yeah, that was like the foundational point of me being able to channel God's voice was this last section 4 was in my walk, was being able to speak what God was telling me. Like I would start picking up my cell phone before I got all fancy and built something to actually duplicate this. I would get out my cell phone and I would go to a voice to note, like, screen or an app or whatever it was. And I would start speaking what God was telling me. I would start speaking it into my phone, and then I'd have paragraphs that would show up. And those paragraphs would be the golden nuggets of inspiration, of coaching, that I would then go back to my office and take action on everything that he told me. Because if you don't have it recorded, then you're going to then go back to your desk or your home office or wherever you're at, and you're going to think for 30 minutes. Okay, well, man, that walk was great. What was God telling me again? Like, you can't do that. You're going to miss shit. So that's why I started, because it was so good, I started speaking it and started recording it. And then it really took off, because then I had the work. I had the bullets right in front of me.
Yeah, this is powerful stuff. And we're going to get to that free gift here in a minute, guys. Last few questions here to kind of drive it home. But just to recap, I mean, we're getting in a flow state. So we're going to begin this entire walk with God in a walk. And then we're setting the intention. Like, this is what I'm here for. This is what I'm seeking. The health, wealth, relationships, the 3 major parts, right? And then it's going to be the acknowledge the blessings, express gratitude, shift your brain into a state of now being grateful. You kind of open up some neurochemicals there as well. Then you lay it all on the table. This is where things are going well. This is where I'm not showing up in alignment. This is where I'm lying. This is where I'm out of integrity. So you put all out there on the table. The next is you ask God for help. God, how can I begin to make some progress? What steps I need to take in this action? You ask that question, wait to hear it, and then you repeat it back with the spoken word. How long are these walks?
Yeah, so sometimes they're 15 minutes. Sometimes they're an hour and a half. Depends on how much you're working on. It depends on you, Like, how much do you want to spend on this? What I do know is that when I spend an hour in the morning, I gain 6 or 8 hours worth of time in the day, because I don't screw up trying to do shit that I don't know if it's going to work or not. I do exactly what I'm supposed to do the whole day.
Yeah. And does it have to be outside, or would walking on a treadmill suffice?
I'm sure you could do that. I've never done that myself. I'm sure that would put you in a flow state. You should try it. I do know that sometimes, you're not able to walk. Like, some people live like where it's cold and it's fucking snowing, and like not where we live, Frank, but there's circumstances.
God made jackets.
Yeah, he did. He made jackets and boots and beanies and everything. But my whole point is that there's no perfect way of doing this. There is a wrong way of doing this, though. The wrong way of doing this is not doing it. That's how simple this conversation is. Just do it, man. You don't have to do it perfect. You don't have to do it perfect, and God is watching you. God wants to help you. God wants to put his arms around you and give you everything that you need. You just got to ask him. And this is a strategic way to make sure that you're hitting the 3 core areas of life. So you're not like most people and like, you're like making a decision that you're going to get your body right and you get a 6-pack and, 9% body fat, and then you are in bankruptcy and your wife leaves you. You know what I mean? Or the opposite, you find the wife and then you get fat and then you don't have a business. Like there's so many different, plates that people don't understand how to keep spinning. That's why with this, the structure is so powerful to be able to do it this way. You're working on everything in your life consistently. And here's the last thing I want to talk about the consistency is if you can just move the ball forward just a little bit in your financial purpose, just a little bit in your body and health, just a little bit in your relationships every single day, at the end of the week, you have 3 areas of your life that is improving, that compounds. You won't believe how your life will change before your very eyes when you just give a little bit of effort on a consistent basis in every single important area of your life. Your life will change exponentially right before your eyes.
Yeah, this has been amazing, Daniel. And I appreciate you and the work that you're doing and kind of bringing, for me, a framework and a structure to truthfully something that, without me being intentional about it, has radically transformed my life. I mean, this entire podcast, this entire movement was birthed out of me taking daily walks. And I wasn't looking at them as walks with God back then, but I was at a very transitional point in my life in 2019. For the first time, I began to get radically honest, which is a big part of the conversation we had here today. Like that was when I began to really kind of open up about myself, about how I was struggling with porn and all these other things, really just kind of putting it all out there. And it led me to this opportunity. I took an incredible job, moved a little bit further north, lived in a beautiful neighborhood. And one of the things, because I was working so much at the time, like I only had time for a 45-minute walk. That was about as much exercise as I could do. I couldn't even drive to the gym because I was so busy. But every afternoon when the sun was out here in beautiful sunny Tampa, Florida, I would take an intentional walk. And at the time I wasn't asking God, but I was looking for the next step. I was looking for more direction. And back then I used to just take my phone out and I would just record these videos that some of them became social media posts. And a lot of those early posts is what led to the original launch of the podcast and then turned into the coaching business. So it's incredible that I've seen this, without being very intentional, have an impact on me. When you just remove your ego from yourselves, begin to look for answers and begin to get in these flow states. I think the big piece for me has been the outdoor walks, like what it just does. And there's some neuroscience behind this. Like when you kind of look over the horizon, kind of expands your vision out a little bit, it kind of opens up your brain to a little bit better processing here. So a lot of power here, guys. So Daniel, if the guys are interested in learning more about you, the Godspeed app, God's Walk, where can they find out? Let's go ahead and give them that gift, and then we'll bring the conversation to a close with the last.
Absolutely. So I do have what I created called the GodWalk app, the GodWalk app. Now, the GodWalk app is everything that we talked about today. It's in an application that will show up on your phone, and every single question, every single structure that we talked about is inside the app. I use this app on a consistent daily basis. Now, this app is in the App Store. It's in the Google Play and the iOS Store. Don't go there right now because you're going to have to pay $399 on the App Store for the app. I'm going to give it to everyone that's listening for free. Everyone that is a part of your network, Frank, and everyone that's listening to this podcast, you can have it for free. And what else you're going to have, it's going to be unlimited lifetime access. You're also going to get 30 days of training from me for free. Now, this training will be delivered to you on a daily basis to, number one, remind you to get on your walk, but more specifically, to really let you focus and train you on how to use the software. And actually, there's clips of me actually doing God walks inside the training. These clips are like 3 to 5 minutes long, and they're delivered to you every single day in the morning. So you see the clip, you get inspired to go on your walk, you watch how I'm walking, you see exactly what you're supposed to focus on for the day, and then you jump in the free GodWalk app and you actually go on your walk. Here's the guarantee that I'm going to make to every single man that's listening. If you make the commitment to go on 30 walks, you watch the training for 30 days, and again, this is all free to you. This is my financial purpose. This is why I'm doing this. I'm doing it for free because God told me to. So I'm giving this and making this available forever for free for you. Here's my guarantee. You will align yourself with your financial purpose inside the 30 days. I guarantee you. You will know exactly which direction you're supposed to head. You will know exactly what steps you're supposed to take inside the GodWalk app because you're going to be massively connected to God, and you're going to understand exactly how to use the software because I'm going to be walking you through it for 30 days. It's going to be amazing for everyone that actually, they're going to go to thegodwalkapp.com, thegodwalkapp.com. They can download the GodWalk app for free, and they can get, and it's attached with a 30 days worth of training that will be delivered to you in bite-sized chunks every morning for 30 days.
Incredible. Daniel, we really, really appreciate that, guys. Visit thegodwalkapp.com for the free 30 days training, the free lifetime access. I mean, literally, it's a $400 savings off the value of the app. So incredibly grateful and appreciative of that, Daniel. The guys want to connect with you socially. Where are you hanging out? Where do you spend most of your
So first thing is I love hanging out with you men. So yes, we can hang out. I want you to download the GodWalk app. That's most important. So first do that. And then if you want to check me out on the social channels, I'm at godspeedwithdaniel.com on all the channels. So at godspeedwithdaniel.com. And you can check me out. But again, first and foremost, download the GodWalk app for free. Go to thegodwalkapp.com and download it and start walking with God.
Incredible. Guys, we got all that stuff plugged down there in the show notes. Last question, Daniel. We like to end every single episode here with the same question. Obviously, the title of the show is called The Superhuman Life. And I think I have a good idea of where you're going to go with this answer. For me, when I talk about living a superhuman life, it's really a belief system. And this is where I think we're aligned in a lot of things, right? Is I do also believe that we're here for a purpose. You know, God placed something on all of our hearts. There's a reason that we're living. It's a reason why each one of us is hearing this conversation here today. But knowing and accepting that there's a purpose on your life, I don't believe is enough. You must be very intentional about your growth, about your development, and the actions that you're taking on a daily basis. So for me, that's how I kind of frame living a superhuman life. But I love to get the guest take. So Daniel, as we end today's conversation, how would you define living a superhuman life?
Connected. When you're connected, you're going to live an amazing life, a superhuman life, but you have to be connected. I was disconnected with a bunch of money and a great family and great health and wealth and happiness, but I wasn't happy. So the moment that you're connected, you will live the life that you've always wanted to live.
Incredible. Guys, get connected. Start walking with God. Download the GodWalk app. Make sure to connect with Godspeed with Daniel on all the platforms. Brother, we appreciate you. Guys, we appreciate you too. You know, we've seen tremendous growth here really in these last few months. You know, I feel like I say this every single week, but I feel like every week we hit a new episode record download. So it's all because of you guys. So if you're getting value out of these conversations, thank you. If you haven't yet done so, please make sure to leave us a 5-star rating and written review. But more importantly, especially with today, if there's a guy that's in your life, maybe you're hearing this and it's one of your brothers. Maybe you're female, then you're hearing this like, my husband needs to hear this. There's somebody that's struggling with his purpose, not having this walk with God. Do us a favor and do him the blessing by sharing today's conversation with him. But for Daniel over at Godspeed, Frank, your host here, we love you guys. We'll see you next week.